This is 5-Minute Power Platform, where I'll be doing short experiments in dynamics, flow, Power Apps, and more. Today I'm building a mobile application to help decode diplomatic license plates in under 5 minutes. In the United States, diplomats and their staff get special license plates like these here. And these license plates come with some superpowers like shown here, the ability to break parking laws without any consequences. The first portion of this plate is encoded with a code that represents the country that the diplomat driving the car or in the car is from. And so I'm always curious when I see one of these plates, where is that person from? So I thought this is a good use for a mobile application. So we'll start by importing our data into the Common Data Service. And the Common Data Service, or CDS, is like a generalized database for your Power App. And so we're going to start this by building a new entity. And you might think of an entity, if you're not familiar with it from the dynamics world, as like a table. You can either build a new entity, or in our case, we're going to import data from an existing source, and that'll help create all the columns and map everything for us. So our data source is a CSV. I was lucky enough to find decoding of these diplomatic license plates on GitHub. And so we're just going to take this data directly from GitHub by getting the raw file here, grab that URL. I can paste it right in here, and it'll create a new entity with all the data for me. So now that's import, I get a nice preview of the data. I'm going to give the column some reasonable names like a code and a description. And you'll notice as I'm working, it's adding the code up in that line above. So you can kind of learn as you go, as you start clicking through. So now we're going to load this to a new entity. We're going to give the entity name, how about diplomatic plate codes? Let's call it diplomatic plate. Choose a primary field. That's going to be kind of the identifier for this. We'll choose code. And we'll walk through. Now you can see what it's doing is it's creating that entity and it's loading the data from that URL all in one shot. So in a moment here, I should have my entity and I can start building my Canvas app on top of it. So let's double check here, make sure that it's really loaded in there. Refreshing the entity list, I see diplomatic plates. Quickly browse the data and I can see all the data is there. There it is. So now let's create and lay out our new Canvas app. We'll come over here on the right, we'll create a new app, or on the left, create a new app. We're going to do an iPhone layout, and we're going to connect to the Common Data Service because that's where we just loaded our data. So connected to the Common Data Service easily for us, and what we'll do is we'll connect to the diplomatic plates entity. I noticed I added an extra S there at the end. It made it plural for us, so next time I do this, maybe I'll just call it plate and not plates. Now you can see what it did is it automatically connected to the data, and so it gave me multiple rows, and it's giving me a layout. And what we're going to do is we're just going to move some of this around here. So like let's move that field over to the right. And let's change it instead of the owner value. We're going to make it that description field, which is the name of the country that this code AA represents. In this case, it's Republic of Congo. That's all the data we need. So we're going to tighten up this row by dragging that up there. And now I can see this nice preview layout of exactly what our app does. So I'm going to list of codes and countries. And I get searching kind of for free at the top. And so when I start searching, it automatically does that. So let's search one of these in that DCY in the image. So People's Republic of China. And so now I've got a working application. So now we'll save this app, start by giving it a name. Diplomatic plates seems suitable. And then once we save it, we can give it an icon and customize it a little bit more. Choosing an icon is always the hardest part. They've got other options for adding a description and such. We're going to keep this simple. We're going to get this ready so that we can test it on our iPhone. So here on the phone, let's open up PowerApps. You can see that diplomatic plates is already listed. And once I load it up, it's going to go connect to the Common Data Service. There's my list. And just like we saw in the preview, I can search for a prefix like DCY that I found on a diplomatic license plate, and it's going to filter out the list and give me the country. And so there we have it. In 5 minutes, we went from nothing to importing our data and creating an entity in the CDS and building a mobile application that will tell us when we see a diplomatic license plate where that person is from. Thanks for watching.